The Eagles, 2 years ago, won the Super Bowl. We're in a position to make a playoff run because Carson Wentz was the MVP of the league at the point he got hurt, but he got hurt, wasn't available. Nick Foles comes in, always been underrated since his days in the Pac-12, an underrated quarterback, and took him on a Super Bowl run, won. Same exact thing happens the next year. Carson Wentz gets hurt, not available at the end. Nick Foles takes over, plays him into the playoffs, and then, by the way, beats the Bears on the road and almost beats the Saints on the road. A valiant effort at a Super Bowl title defense. But Nick Foles is gone. And the Eagles roster, I think everyone agrees, is upgraded. They can't do it without Carson Wentz. There's not a backup quarterback who can do what what Nick Foles has done the last couple of years. And these are Super Bowl contenders. You know what the expectation is in Philadelphia? Super Bowl run. They expect to be Super Bowl contenders. If you took Carson Wentz off that team and put in a league average quarterback, it would not be the case. But people believe, because they have eyes, before Patrick Mahomes came on the scene, it was like, whoa, Carson Wentz. That dude looks like the next, Andrew Luck, the next who could eventually replace Aaron Rodgers as the best quarterback in the game, the most talented guy. That guy can if he can stay healthy. Of course it's Carson Wentz.
I disagree. I think it's Lamar Jackson. And the reason why I think it's Lamar Jackson is because I think the Eagles are a more complete team, even without Carson Wentz. I'm not saying they don't need Carson Wentz. I'm not saying that I don't expect him to be big time and electric, particularly when you just elected to let Nick Foles go to Jacksonville. But the flip side is, even though he's 40 years of age, as a veteran quarterback in Josh McCown, who just recently signed with them, you want experience there as a backup quarterback. Why? Because you look at your running game, you look at the receivers more importantly, the Nelson Aguilars, the Alshon Jeffries, the Deshaun Jacksons coming over. Zach Ertz was a monster last year with 116 receptions for over 1,100 yards. You look at the pieces that they have in place combined with their defensive prowess, and there's no question that the Eagles could make a run. Now, you need Carson Wentz to make that run, but that's what you need him for. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, you need Lamar Jackson just to be relevant. They obviously had some success winning their first AFC North crown for the first time since 2012. Where did that come from? Well, 10 games into the season, you put Lamar Jackson in there. His first game as a quarterback, he rushes for 117 yards. He rushes a hell of a lot better than he throws. He was absolutely pathetic in the first 3 quarters of that playoff game against the Los Angeles Chargers. That's some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen in my life. He couldn't throw it. He could have hit Broadway if it was empty, for crying out loud. Standing on Broadway. That's how bad it was for the first 3 quarters before coming on strong and ultimately doing some things, but too little, too late. Lamar Jackson is everything to the Baltimore Ravens. If he can't make things happen, they are, at best, 3rd best in the AFC North. That's the difference.
Considering how Stephen A. came at me today, and I didn't even know it, it pains me to say I agree with you right now. Although I agree with you. Yeah. Okay? I agree with you for this fact. Look, Philadelphia needs a point guard at quarterback this year. And when I say that, I'm talking about in terms of the mentality that whoever plays quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles needs to adopt. Just like Nick Foles did in 2 consecutive years. As long as you play the point guard and you don't make it about you, everything else is going to take care of itself in Philly because of the playmakers that they have. And you, as the quarterback, are going to benefit, and you're going to get all the accolades because your yardage is going to be just ridiculous in terms of completion percentage, yards per attempt, passer rating, touchdown interception ratio. They're set up to succeed. Now, I'm not saying that you can just throw any old quarterback in there if you didn't have Carson Wentz, and they would make it to the Super Bowl, as Max, you have correctly said. It's Super Bowl or bust in Philly. There's no doubt about that. But I think Philadelphia is so strong, and they've done such a good job of making this roster into what it is right now. And I think their coaching staff is so dialed into exactly what they have and how to best utilize it, that they will be. Look, they would be okay if Josh McCown had to play, because I think Josh McCown is one of the greatest pros that we've ever seen at the position, regardless of what kind of success he has had. He is the ultimate point guard type of player, and that's what they need. In Baltimore, there's no doubt about it. Baltimore goes nowhere if Lamar Jackson does not develop. Look, he has to develop his ability to throw this football 15, 20 yards down the field outside the numbers. If he does not develop that part of his game, teams will pack the middle of the field, Max. They'll pack the middle of the field. They will force him to throw the ball outside. They won't allow him. He cannot continue to get away with running the way he has.
Sure.
I know it's electric. I know it's exciting. He's not going to get away with it.
If you're asking who may be more interesting to watch their development, that's a different question. If you're asking which quarterback has to do more, in other words, who has less around him, that's a different question. But the question is, who's more important to the team's success?
But you can't
just have any old quarterback. Like, I really feel like Nick Foles has been slighted here. And this goes back to the Pac-12, Lewis, when everyone, I mean, obviously Andrew Luck, but also Matt Barkley and Osweiler were put ahead of Nick Foles, and they shouldn't have been. Then he turns pro, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Well, Chip Kelly's offense. And then he looks bad with Jeff Fisher because everyone does. And as soon as he gets another shot, he wins a Super Bowl and then leads a team on it. So, like, we're acting as though, I understand what you mean. Like, you need a point guard and McCown has been a point guard. You ain't going to win a Super Bowl with Josh McCown under center. That's not going to happen.
You're not going to make it to the playoffs if Lamar Jackson doesn't improve. And if you have
the team's not as good.
And I'll tell you this, if RG3 has to play, you're looking at maybe a 6-10, 7-9 football team. Maybe at best.
But you might be looking at that with Lamar Jackson too.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, look, they need him. They need him in order to have any shot at making it to the postseason. Philadelphia can make it to the postseason. I think they can make it to the postseason.
Who's a worse
they may not
team?
win the division, but they can make it to the postseason without Carson.
Yeah,
with Carson.
If we turn the question into who has the better team around them, obviously Carson Wentz has a better team around him. Okay. Is that the question?
Thank you so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.